Hello everyone, welcome back to Cloud Institution. So the Cloud Institution is the best software training institution. So today, as part of the Azure DevOps series, we're going to see another very interesting topic on Azure DevOps, that is users and permissions. Okay, so as part of this video, we're going to see about how to create users and how to assign users to the particular project, and how to how to manage the users and all this stuff. We are going to create it, right? So now, what are we going to do today is that so we go to the console. Okay, so now we have the email ID, which is called hiring tech skills. We are going to add this particular user to the Azure DevOps project. All right. Okay, so now as this is the Azure portal. Okay, now this is the Azure DevOps portal. All right, so I'm in the organization level, and as you can see here. Okay, so there are two different ways where we can how we can add the users. So first of all, what we can do is we can also go and create go in under the project. So you can see a lot of different options. Okay, so what we can do is we can go and invite the user. So the invite user is going to be like, so what is the user which I'm going to give? Is going to be hiringtechskills@gmail.com. Okay, hiringtechskills@gmail.com is what the user which I wanted to invite to the project. Okay, so that this particular user will be able to access this project through the invite link. All right, so now we can click on add. So this is the demo user. This user doesn't have any Azure DevOps accounts or Microsoft account. So now, as part of this one, I've sent an invite. Okay, so this invite will take some time for the user to be reaching. Okay, so but if you can see this one, okay, previously because it may take some time. So in the previously, I've added the user again, so in the to the project. So now we have so they have been invited to the Azure project. Okay, so now we can click on join. Now it'll ask you for the credentials, to which account you wanted to be logged in. So all these things you can give, you should be able to access the project. Okay, now this is what the email which I've received previously. Okay, so now, as because it takes some time, so I'm showing you the invite which I've just created previously. All right. Now, what are we going to do today is that, so I'm going to create another user. I'm going to Azure portal, and I'm going to create a user. Okay. So on Entro ID. So I'm in Entro ID. Okay. So click on users. Okay. Click on users. And so if you're able to create a users in Azure, Azure portal, you can also add that user as well. Okay. So click on create user. The username is going to be, okay, so the cloud institution. Okay, so the cloud institution user. Okay, and then it's going to be adding with the domain name as well. Okay, so now it's going to be like display name is going to be cloud institution user, and then the password, it can be the custom password, or I'm going to give the another password. Okay, so okay, so I've given my own password, or you can also give a auto generated password. Okay, now I create review and create, and then creating a user. Okay, so now I can go back and refresh this page. So the cloud institution user is created. So now what we can do is we can copy this user, the user principal name, and then let's go back to the summary. Okay, so now if you want to add that particular user, without being invited, then what we can do is that we can go to cloud institution org, and then click on organization settings. All right, okay, so now we can go to users. We can go click on users and click on, okay, click on add users. Okay, now we already have some of the users already been added. Okay, now what we can do is we can go and create a, okay, give this particular user. Okay, so this is the add users, right? This is the users that has been created in the Azure. Okay, so we also have a different access levels. Okay, first one is basic. The person will be able to have do the basic, basic level access for the projects. Okay, which is like, so we can read the projects, and we can do some kind of a custom operations, but it cannot create a projects, or it cannot create a repositories. Okay, so now the stakeholder kind of a, you'll be having a little bit of more privileges. Okay, then the basic user, and the Visual Studio user is again will be having the more users, more privileges. when compared to the Visual Studio, so when compared to all the other two users. But the Visual Studio Code subscriber, which having all the features on, VS Code related, so VS Visual Studio coding related access. Okay, now I'm going with the basic and the what is the project, so how many projects this particular user will be able to access. Okay, now I'm giving all the projects this particular user should be able to access it. Right, now as I mentioned it, so the project contributor, project leader or contributor administrator. Okay, this is also another another option. Like, so if it is a reader, means he cannot create repository, so he cannot create add any files. Okay, so contributor means he should be able to, the create repositories. You can add some files, and you can add folders, and you create create a different aspect, like create a pipelines and all this stuff you can do. Now administrator is like, you can do everything, so administrator can add other users as well. Okay, in the project. Okay, if you want to grant a permission of other users within the projects, then the project administrator should be able to grant a permission for other users. Okay, we are going to see all these things. Right, now I'm going to add as a project reader or contributor. Okay, so I'm going to add as a project reader. All right, okay, so now it's just creating. Okay, so we can also see that, so the cloud institution user. Okay, I'm going to copy this one. uh, okay, now if you want to, let's go back to the project. Okay, so now we are having two projects, right? So now I wanted to grant the granular level access to this particular user. Okay, so let's go back to the summary, and let's go back to the project settings. Okay, so in this project settings, you can go to the permissions. Okay, so now we have no, so there are a lot of default groups are there. Okay, so let's create a new group called, okay, so the cloud admin. Okay, so this is the cloud admin group. All right, okay, so the member of this project is going to be, okay, so the cloud institution user, and then we're going to be hiring of the rich. Okay, so this is another user which we already granted a permission for this. See here previously we have granted access to this particular user. Okay, still I didn't get the email notification, but what happens is that in the previously we have already go to make sure on the right. All right, okay, so now I can go to the this particular cloud admin. Okay, so now we can go back to the members. So what kind of, how many members are there as part of this one. Okay, you can also you can also click add new member here as well. Okay, now we also have one more user called test user. Okay, the test at the rate that, the Shweta Kanagi at the rate, it's kind of a Microsoft, so on Microsoft.com, so it's on Microsoft.com account, and I'm also going to save it. All right, this is how you'll be seeing, like, so what are the different users will be able to access it. Okay, you can go to the member of sections, so the project valid users, and so there's nothing here, and then settings, you can also change the permissions of your, so if you want to change some settings of this particular users and these things, you can do that. So what about permissions? Okay, you can just set what kind of a permission you want to allow for this particular group. Okay, so delete the projects, so allow or deny, and these are all the things you can just set it for your group. All right, so this is how we'll be creating the projects and groups, and users and permissions under projects, and you can manage the users on the particular project. All right, so hope you understand this particular video. So if you like this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and please stay tuned for the rest of the videos. And the next videos, we're going to see another advanced topics on Azure DevOps. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and please stay tuned on the next videos.